Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM, channel 141. This is the Insight segment for Monday, May 5th. I'm Harold Fisher. Well, tonight, minding your small business. We have valuable resources and tips for current small business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs. Tonight, we're going to hear from experts who are vital to DC's entrepreneurial ecosystem. They're suggesting that now may be the perfect time for federal employees facing uncertainty to pursue their small business dreams. We're also going to preview an upcoming small business workshop set for this week at the MLK Library. My guests are Rose Suggs Evans, Director of the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development, Shinyeti Hubbard, CEO of the DC Chamber of Commerce, and Steve Glaude, President and CEO of the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development. Thank you all for joining this really important conversation. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Sure thing. Let me just share a few fast facts on small businesses in DC. There are approximately 75,000 of them in the district. 98% of all of the businesses in the district are small businesses, with 44% owned by women. And small businesses employ more than 260,000 workers, and that's about 48% of the total DC workforce. And of course, small business contributes nearly $16 billion to the local economy yearly. And I think it would go without saying that nationally, small business is the backbone of the American economy. Mm-hmm. And so it's clear that small businesses are the heartbeat, the economic heartbeat of the district. Talk to me about each of your respective roles as it relates to helping aspiring entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs survive and thrive in the district. I'll start with you, Shinyeti.
Okay, thank you, Harold.
Sure.
So the DC Chamber of Commerce has been around for about 87 years, and we are the leading voice and advocate for DC's business community, businesses of all sizes, small, medium, and large. And I think the DC Chamber is important now more than ever for all of the reasons you just outlined earlier, given our economic uncertainties. But we're really here to help create and maintain a vibrant and thriving economy that improves and sustains a high quality of life. And so we're here to help through leadership opportunities for small businesses and large businesses, networking events, convenings, an opportunity for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs to cultivate relationships and learn about contracting and partnership opportunities within our business ecosystem, and community and committee memberships, which offer access to other businesses, including access to capital, banks, mentoring. We have an accelerator program. And just recently, we partnered with DSLBD and DISB on an annual small business summit at the Walter.
So let me stop you right there, because most of the people that are listening are not DC employees, and so they have no idea what
those acronyms stand for.
I didn't know whether that was the CIA or the FBI or FDLC.
All the alphabet soup.
That's right. That's right. So help me. So let's back up and start that piece again, because all jokes aside, I think people are very interested, but we don't want to lose them.
Of course, absolutely. And I don't want to get ahead of Director Suggs Evans, DSLBD. She leads that wonderful organization, Department and Small and Local Businesses, and DISB, Department of Insurance. And Director Suggs, you'll have to help me with
Banking and Securities.
Thank you, Banking and Securities.
See, look at that. There you go.
Partnership.
I know, right? So please go ahead.
Yes. And so we work together to create, we had featured and thought-provoking panel discussions on topics from AI, financial sustainability, and a very variety of coaching sessions for our businesses of all sizes. We also heard from our Deputy Mayor of Economic and Planning and Economic Development. We heard from senior executives from U.S. Chamber of Commerce to provide insights on opportunities nationally, internationally, and locally.
That's a lot. I do want to drill down on some of those later on in the conversation, because for those who aren't familiar, that will probably give them a sense of comfort knowing that some of these things are there. Rose, if you don't mind sharing what your office does specifically.
Sure. The DC Department of Small and Local Business Development is focused on supporting all district businesses, small and local, at whatever stage of the business life cycle they are in. Whether it is an idea phase and you're in ideation and have always wanted to start your own business but didn't know how to begin, we ask that you come to our website, dslbd.dc.gov.
Say that one more time, please, real quick.
dslbd.dc.gov. Whether you're an existing business and trying to grow your business, our role is to support businesses at whatever stage of the business life cycle they are in. We do that through a number of ways, as Chinyere just talked about, through partnerships with organizations like the DC Chamber of Commerce, but also working through providing workshops to those small business owners, understanding what those needs are in the business community, and making sure that we are addressing those needs from a government perspective. So in a nutshell, that's our focus. We do this, we're happy to be having this conversation at the start of DC Small Business Week, but we do this 24/7, 365 days of the year. That's our focus.
Steve?
So the coalition, as we are now known, is a citywide organization made up of 100 nonprofits, about 40 mission-driven for-profits, and we work across the footprints of homelessness prevention, affordable housing, workforce development, and small business development. And it's interesting, Harold, with the statistics that you cited at the beginning, you would think with small businesses being the economic backbone of our cities and our communities, that there would be even greater supports for them given their role. There are unique challenges that small businesses have by their very nature. The definition of a small business is 20 employees or less. And so some of the basic things that help scale and grow small businesses are very challenging for small businesses to access. So we kind of take what I call the 3C approach, which is capital, capacity, and connectiveness. And one of the things we really focus on is ensuring that small businesses have access to the information around the resources that are available. So there are three big things that we do. One is our smallbizhelp.com website. So if I'm a small business owner, I don't know necessarily all of the resources that are available to me. I don't know the classes. I don't know who all has the capital or the training or the technical assistance. So what we've spent the last 2 years doing is creating smallbizhelp.com. It's a website that houses every resource available to small businesses in the district. Director Suggs' information is on that. Ms. Hubbard's information is on that, as well as our CDFIs, our banks, and so forth. The other thing that small business face is growth challenges. If you look at many of our small businesses, they tend to be trapped in the tier that they exist. And so if they're at 70 million in sales, it's hard to get to 15 million. If they're at 10 million, it's hard to get to 15 or 20 million. So we have our community anchor partnership, which is utilizing the spending power of our universities, our health systems, our utility companies, and our transit industries to get more procurements to small businesses. We started off about 8 years ago with 4 institutions with a spend of $5 million. We've grown it to 17 institutions now with a spend of $663 million to our small businesses. And we are also a Small Biz Month promoter, and we have several events that we're doing during Small Business Month, which are housed on our website. So we think that small businesses, just like my colleagues here, are so very important, but we also recognize that they are the most disconnected among industries from the services that are available to them.
That's interesting. And that's something else I do want to ask about later in the conversation. Rose, briefly talk to me about the event that's coming up this week and what's being offered and how people can find out more information about it.
Absolutely. We are having our open house this Wednesday, May 7th, at the MLK Library. And it is going to be an event that brings all of the resources that we all have just heard about and talked about into one spot. So we are going to be talking about the resources that the agency provides our small businesses on a regular basis. But in addition to that, we are bringing together our government partners. And so if a person is interested in learning about the certification program, I'm sure you've heard about the Mayor's Green Book. And the Mayor's Green Book.
No, I have not.
Okay, so
and again, I think for our listeners, we should think that they are starting at the ground floor.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Mayor's Green Book was initially launched in 2016 when Mayor Bowser came into her administration, and it was a focus. She wanted to be very transparent on what the government is looking to purchase. And not only that, but what the government is looking to purchase from small businesses. And so when the mayor came aboard, the spend that the district had with small businesses was about $300 million. We focused on FY25. That spend now, the base spend is going to be $1.4 billion with our small business enterprises. And so that speaks to not only just in words, but in deeds, the commitment that this administration has made to supporting our small businesses. Mm-hmm. So if you are a small business and you are interested in doing business with the government, we encourage you to come to our event on the 7th to learn about other opportunities. If you are a small business and you have questions regarding your Clean Hands document from the Office of Tax and Revenue.
What does that mean?
Clean Hands is a document that many businesses have to obtain when you're either trying to receive contracts from the government, do business with the government. Is basically saying your business is paid up and good to go. And so sometimes our small business owners have questions about their Clean Hands. There's issues surrounding it. So we bring those resources to our event. So we are going to have a number of government agencies that will be represented on the 7th, where small business owners, whether you're trying to do business with the government, whether you're a retail business located in a commercial corridor and you have questions, come to that event on the 7th and learn and get the information and the resources that we have available.
Do you have to register for this event, or can you just show up?
Yeah, you can register if you go onto our website at dslbd.dc.gov.
Let's at, what's that website again?
I'm going to say it slow.
Yeah, there you go.
dslbd.dc.gov. Department of Small and Local Business Development is what DSLBD stands for. You can go onto that website and register to attend our event on the 7th.
Okay, excellent. And of course, we will be posting that information on our website as well as this interview after 7 o'clock this evening. I need you all to stand by because there are so many great nuggets that all of you have already touched upon, and we really need to drill down a little bit more so that those who are just starting out or those who are veterans in small business can understand. So don't forget, you can hear this in every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The Original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR. This conversation continues on Sirius XM, channel 141 and 96.3 HD2 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM, channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our conversation about the current small business climate in the District of Columbia. My guests for this small business roundtable are Rose Suggs Evans, Director of the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development, Shinyeti Hubbard, CEO of the DC Chamber of Commerce, and Steve Glaude, President and CEO of the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development. I want to, as I said before the break, I really want to try to drill down on some of the things that I think a lot of small business people are interested in. Considering the current political climate, for example, Shinyeti, we've spoken on this program for years about the availability of funding, because some small businesses, as we know, start in front yards and kitchens and basements, and all of a sudden they realize that they need space or they need help. But as we know, there have been changes to the presidential administration. I think it's safe to say there's no clarity on what's going to happen with the SBA. It has changed. So for people who are trying to get a loan to get their business off the ground, what do you tell them?
Yes, we recognize at the Chamber a lot of change is happening on the local level, on the national level. But despite the current economic fluctuation, we do remain optimistic about our long-term prospects in the city. And there are still access to opportunities for capital. Just today, Mayor Bowser unveiled an economic growth agenda that's going to be included in her FY26 budget. And so with all of the economic uncertainty caused by a shrinking federal presence, we want to be able to support people who want to start a business. So part of her proposal includes cutting out red tape, lowering taxes, removing a lot of barriers for business growth, and just improving the processes to support local business. And the DC Chamber is here to work very closely with our city leaders and small business owners to ensure that they are able to survive and thrive in this dynamic economy. And I know Director Suggs Evans talked about the event that they're hosting in a couple of days. Well, tomorrow we are working with DC HealthLink. They're doing a Power Up Summit. And that is a free summit, and it's for it will provide invaluable information and resources to business owners and to small business owners and those who want to start a business. And it will take place at Martin Luther King Library. And so that's tomorrow. Registration is free, and it opens at 8 a.m.
So MLK is going to be very busy this week.
Yes, it will.
Steve, same question. You mentioned funding. What do you do if, anecdotally speaking, I know that a lot of small businesses, even those that are successful, don't always necessarily start with an idea or a huge plan. Sometimes they start with doing things out of necessity, and people have a tendency to back in to that. Excuse me. So what do you tell them about funding? Where do they look?
Well, first of all, small business happens generally in one of three ways. Either you go to school and get your MBA and you figure out that you want to be a business owner. That's one track. Another track is that you are part of a family legacy business. Your grandfather owned the hardware store, your dad owned it, and somehow they convince you to keep going, although we're seeing some shifts in those trends. Or the real entrepreneur, as we know them, walks outside, looks around, sees something that needs to be done that someone is willing to pay for, and they start a business. All of those suggest that there needs to be an understanding about the use of capital in growing and sustaining your business. So one of the things we do every 2 years, we publish a small business lending guide. One of the things that we've learned in our connections and communications with small businesses is that oftentimes they don't know what to borrow, when to borrow, or how much to borrow, and so forth. They also are not necessarily familiar with the financing products that are available. So we have banks, we have community banks, we have community development financial institutions, we have government programs. And one of the things I'd like to elevate that Shaneri said is that our city leaders get it. We are fortunate in the District of Columbia to have a mayor and a council that really understand the vital role that small businesses play. If you look inside the administration, not just in Director Sugg Evans' agency, but multiple other district agencies, you will see programs and supports for small businesses. So we're fortunate. I know that is not the case across America. I sit on 3 national boards. Through those boards, I get to see into other cities. And many times when I'm convening with my colleagues from around the country, they complain that their city leaders don't get it. And I always sit in those conversations and say, well, I don't have that problem back home in DC. We are lucky. But to your specific point, there are community development financial institutions that are really well positioned to do what banks can't do. And increasingly, banks are understanding that futuristically, their profit of margins are going to lie in Black and brown communities. And so they are trying to connect themselves to communities like the District of Columbia, cities like the District of Columbia, where we have a strong minority and women-owned business culture, because that's where their future business lies. So I am hopeful as well that even with some of the federal challenges that may be looming, that our business community is resilient. In fact, I'm going to use this real quick to mention that during Small Business Month, we're doing a workshop on business resiliency. We're doing a series of workshops on business resiliency. We are also doing something that I'm really excited about. We're doing some business cash mobs, and we will literally be
what's that?
Cash mobs is where literally, just as it sounds, we rally people to go to targeted businesses throughout the district with the intention of spending a good deal of money to bolster that business for a particular period of time. That's a young person's term, so I had to get educated myself on what a cash mob was. My younger staff laughs at me and says, come on, boomer, catch up. Like, cash mobs have been around for a while. So anyway, we will be targeting, I think it's 10 businesses throughout the district during Small Business Month, and we will be promoting to residents to come to those specific businesses to support them. So, and all of this can be found on our website, because I don't want to go through all of the activities and take up too much time, but all of our Small Business Month activities will be at the coalitiondc.org. So again, it's the coalitiondc.org. And if you go in there, you'll find landing pages for each of these activities.
I do want to talk about something you did mention. Yes, DC, I don't know, is the chocolate city or the mocha latte, whatever you want to call it. But that notwithstanding, considering the pushback against DEI, is there a workaround that small businesses should be considering when applying for funding? Would a Shaneri Hubbard or a Rose Suggs Evans need to be strategic in trying to find funding? I mean, you said, looming changes as it relates to how banks look at things. I don't think it's looming at all. It's here. It's right here. And so, Steve,
I'll take a swing, and I'm sure my colleagues have views as well.
Because I'd like Rose to chime in on that too, but please.
Okay, if you want Rose to go first.
No, please go ahead, Steve, and then Rose, I want to make sure you come back in here.
I think that we, in one instance, suddenly found ourselves attacked for what we had previously been licensed and rewarded to do, and that is to focus on minority businesses and to do DEI work. But before we were licensed and rewarded to do that work, we still served our communities. I mean, I would jokingly say, not jokingly, but I would maybe sarcastically say, we were small before we were small and minority. We were community-based before we were DEI. So if you look at the primary mission of promoting local, we still get to address. When we did our community anchor work analysis and we looked at how our large institutions were spending their money, even though their minority spend was 0.5%, their local spend was less than 3%. So there was work to be done, whether we directed them to focus on minority businesses or not. I think that we are in an era where local and small is probably a safe lane, but I also think because of the composition of our city, we will unavoidably still help our minority and our women-owned firms as we move this work forward.
Rose?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Steve just said. I mean, the Department of Small Local Business Development, our programs are race and gender neutral, and so. To Steve's point, the fact that we focus on local, small and local, gets us to that point. So most of our small business enterprises have those that have identified themselves as minority or women-owned businesses, right? We have a program called our Dream Pitch Program, which is a program that focuses on entrepreneurs and small business owners in Wards 7 and 8. So it's locally focused in Ward 7 and 8. As I've always said, the mayor's focused on DC-based businesses and business owners, regardless of where they are based in the district, having the opportunity to resources and opportunities to grow and thrive. And that's how our programs are focused. And we will continue to focus on our local businesses, knowing that we will get to that endpoint, which is, are those businesses minority owned or women owned? Majority of them are, but we're going to keep that local lens focus.
You just said something that struck me, Rose. You said DC-based businesses. But do you have to be a resident to utilize the resources of your office, or can you live outside of the district but have a business based in the district?
Mm-hmm. As long as your business is based in the district, you are eligible for the resources we have. Now, through our Certified Business Enterprise Program, which is referred to as the CBE program, the focus is being based in the district. Your headquarters are based in the district, but there are different categories that you can add to your business profile. And one of those is a resident-owned business. Mm-hmm. So it's the best of both worlds, if you will. We can identify those residents that want to have a business, but also those non-district residents, but have decided to make DC the home for their business.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for people to know, because they may start their business in the district, but may live outside of the district, or live outside of the district and may find a market for their business in the district.
Yeah, so I think I think the DC, as I think, Chinetti and Steve have said so eloquently, is that there's so much support here that we have businesses coming from Maryland, coming from Virginia to come to DC because of the support that's here. So I think that's an important thing to make sure that we also get out there. We welcome businesses to come here. We're about attraction, growth, and retention.
That's right. Small business is big business in DC.
That's right.
Chinetti, to access that laundry list of services that you mentioned earlier in this conversation, do you have to be a member of the DC Chamber? I mean, if I'm just starting out with my, I don't know,
Tech business.
whatever the business is, I don't know, hat business.
That could be lucrative, Harold. Yes.
I don't know. How do I get access? I mean, do I have to be a member, or how does that work?
Yeah, we do have programming and networking opportunities and convenings for anybody in this region. You don't have to be a member. There might be a charge for non-members, but we do encourage membership because of the access that you are that you will have an opportunity to connect with other businesses and that you'll benefit from by being a member. We have over 1,000 members at the DC Chamber, and we are hoping to grow that membership. And these resources, as I mentioned earlier, include mentorship programs, access to capital. We have an accelerator program which supports small businesses. And if you're a small business who's a part of that accelerator program, you get a free membership for a year at the DC Chamber. So we do encourage those to join the Chamber to really benefit from all of the opportunities we can provide. And you can find out more information at dcchamber.org.
Okay. Steve, if I'm a federal government worker who's just lost their job and I want to start a business, where do I start? What do you kind of give me the Cliff Notes version of what you would recommend that I do?
So this is somewhat personal for me. I worked in the federal government, and I remember sitting at the Department of Housing and Urban Development about 2-3 years into my job. And I literally said, no one's ever going to hire me after this experience, because federal government existence is so siloed and specific in the nature of what you do. It's hard to imagine your value outside of government. And I literally called one of my mentors and said, my career is over. And my mentor laughed at me and said, Steve, you have no idea the skills, the knowledge that you've developed by being in government. And so I'm roundabouting, but I'm going to come to your specific question. I think that there are intermediaries like us, the three of us on this call, that need to really look at how we capture and support that expertise as it is rotating into the private sector. These federal employees have immense technical knowledge about specific industries, about government and how it works, which alone is invaluable to many others outside of government. And we're actually looking at the idea of developing a business incubator for federal employees, where we can expose them to the process of starting a business, as well as help them explore their areas of expertise. Us and others are thinking this way. We're not the only ones thinking this way. Many people have had events for laid off federal workers. Most of them so far have been around employment. And I think the entrepreneurship alley is available to all of us. And perhaps even maybe the three of us on this call can collaborate and figure out a way to really lend each of our areas of expertise to supporting them. There are better business opportunities for displaced federal workers than they yet know. They don't understand their value. And some of us who do know should be willing to help them interpret and figure out whether this is an option next step for them in their career.
Absolutely.
And they can come to our organization, and I'm sure the chamber and DSLBD as well. Even if we're not doing it ourselves, I think all of us are probably learning what is being done or available. So minimally, we're a referral source, but we may actually stand up some programming as well.
I guess what I'm asking, Steve, is not everybody's going to hear this conversation. And I'm sitting at home. I've lost my federal government job. And I have an idea, whether it's my hat business or my lawn service business or something. So not every, as wonderful as all of you are. And I say that in all sincerity. And jump right in. What foundational or what should someone do? Or what perhaps, Rose, should they not do?
I just real quickly say, anyone trying to navigate their future, no matter what their starting point is, has to connect to the ecosystem that's connected to that. All of us who work for the last 10 years at least have come to appreciate ecosystems as the fabric of support. So an ecosystem would include what government is doing, what the chamber's doing, what we're doing, what others are doing. And I think that there is a level of sophistication where people know that they have to connect to an ecosystem. And the other thing I would say, and this is going to sound really kind of cynical, Google it. Like if you Google any trigger word now, you will get directed to the ecosystem that serves that issue. So literally, if you put in Google, I'm a displaced federal worker, what do I do next? Some of what we're talking about would pop up, but if you're more specific in that search, you would get more directly to us and others like us who are trying to help.
Exactly. And Steve, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rose.
Go ahead, Rose.
No, I, again, couldn't agree more. It's, there are certainly resources available through district government. I think the relationship that Chinyeti and Steve and I have, there are many times when we're talking to small business owners and I was like, are you a member of the chamber? Are you, we support each other in that way. The Department of Small and Local Business Development is at the MLK Library every Wednesday to hear from residents or folks that are interested in just learning about what to do if I want to start a business.
So what do they tell you when that would prompt you to ask that question? When they're sitting around looking to Rose Suggs-Evans, what are they telling you that makes you say no, or yes?
So it's a number of things, right? There are folks that have come in that just have an idea and they don't know how to even begin to structure a business. And that's where we talk to them about our Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection and making sure that you get yourself set up so that you can actually conduct business in the district, not just, creating goods or starting to do consulting, but you have to have a structure. And so we try to guide them through those steps. Or it could be someone that has a business and is trying to grow that business. And where is it that you want to be in the next year or 2 years? And then trying to, point them if it's something that we can't directly support, but making sure that we're pointing them in the right direction so that they can get to where they need to be. And it's not a one-stop shop engagement. We follow back up with those businesses. We keep track of our businesses to make sure that they're getting to that next point, or they were able to connect with that agency or that community partner. And then we have folks that are, back to one of your earlier points, that are looking for, access to capital. Right after the pandemic, we had a ton of grant dollars that were, just flowing everywhere. that slowly is drying up, and people have a hesitancy now when you hear about debt financing and loans. But we try to have those conversations to let them know the importance of debt financing, and that there are community development financial institutions that will assist business owners that maybe don't have the best credit in the world, but can perform and have been performing, and providing services for years, but they just, for whatever reason, don't have the best credit. How can we support them in that way with getting them that access to capital? And so
No, go ahead. Finish your point, please.
I said, there, we get a range of business owners or folks interested in starting a business with a range of questions, and we do our best to address all of those.
Shinyeti, do you have a suggestion for someone who is starting a business that is, even on a small scale, they become overwhelmed with its initial success? And this is what I mean. If my hat business, my I Love DC hat business, just takes off, but I'm only getting paid through Cash App and Zelle or cash. And I guess this is my overarching question. What do you suggest to someone who isn't struggling, but all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm making more money in a week than I made in a month during my day job? How do you get them to the next level of sophistication from that ground floor?
Yes. Well, outside of joining the chamber, we can, and as a member, when you have that thriving business, because that's what
calling Rose or Steve, working
with
that's not what I was asking.
Esteemed colleague. But really, leaning in and seeking that information and knowledge, because a lot of people don't know what to do when their business does take off, and to ensure that they remain successful and remain thriving. And that's one of the resources that we can provide, whether it's working with banks, financial advisors, planners, marketing. And the other thing I would like to add is, as you are starting your business or thinking about a business, I know with you talking about using a hat example, but there are also other emerging industries to think about, like tech and cybersecurity, AI, that, we should also be thinking about attracting tech businesses and global entrepreneurs as well. So those businesses will continue to thrive. But yeah, our resources really include those mentorship programs. There's one-on-one coaching. We work very closely with my colleagues here, with Director Suggs Evans, to ensure that small business owners, as their business begins to take off, are getting mentored and getting the right education that they need to sustain their business.
Harold, there's something.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm actually out of time. Unfortunately, yeah, I know. You all were just enjoying this so much, I can tell. But this information, as I said, will be posted on our website on WHUR.com this evening. But thank you all so much, Rose Suggs Evans, Steve Glaude, and Shinyeti Hubbard. Thank you all so much, and good luck during this Small Business Month and beyond.
Thank you so much for having us.
Sure
Have a good
thing.
day. Take care.
That is the Daily Drum for this Monday, May 5th. I'm Harold Fisher.